The Washington Nationals had a problem with their pitching all season long, whether it be the starters or the bullpen. But I could see some improvements in the Nationals prioritizing their pitching.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And yes, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can find me over on Twitter at RyanClary11. And yes, we are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. And later on in the show today, you still got some Nationals, former Nationals, that is, in the championship series. So we'll discuss that and also make a prediction for what will be happening later on in this series. But in the second segment, I do believe there will be some improvements coming with some specific guys on this Nationals roster. Talking about some pitchers, I've got 3 names to keep an eye on as we enter 2026. And again, you'll want to keep an eye on these 3 guys. So stay tuned for that conversation later on in the show today. But I'm going to tell you why that I believe right now that the Nationals' offseason priority should be just getting better at pitching. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So download the app today. The Nationals were a bad pitching staff this season. Just looking across the numbers, I mean, the numbers obviously tell a just terrible story of the 2025 Washington Nationals. Looking at their team ERA, they had a 5.35 team ERA, second worst in all of baseball. And then you look at their home runs given up this season. Again, top 5 worst in all of baseball. You look at their whip. Yet again, the Washington Nationals did not have a good whip. That was the second worst in all of baseball if they 1.45 whip. We could talk about the numbers, but also watching this team each and every single day, you all saw a bad pitching team in 2025. And that's why this Nationals team has to simply prioritize making pitching the number 1 offseason to-do list. Looking across postseason baseball at this point, we're looking at performances from guys like George Kirby. We're talking about Cam Schlittler, New York Schlitty, Trey Yesavage from the Toronto Blue Jays, having a debut performance in which he pitched nearly a perfect game. This is kind of what you need now. And thinking back to a series in which we all remember very well, the 2019 World Series. What carried the Nationals through that series? It was their pitching. It was Steven Strasburg going 8+ innings in Game 6 of the World Series. It was Max Scherzer dominating a Game 7 with a hurt neck. It was Anibal Sanchez getting you across the finish line in the NLCS. It was guys like Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin coming in relief, the bullpen locking guys down. In today's game, you have to have a good balance of offense, but also have that pitching and defense to back it up. When you are trying to win in October, the number 1 thing that you should be trying to prioritize is getting your bullpen and your starting rotation in check, specifically your top 3 guys. Right now, this Nationals team and this rotation heading into the season, it's kind of a mess if we're being honest. You have got a lot of young guys, some who are unproven, some guys who could take steps up under Paul Taboni's leadership, some guys who might be traded this offseason, some guys that might hit free agency and be non-tendered at this point. But you also have some guys who, again, might take that leap. And guys that I think about are obviously at the forefront here with Cade Cavalli. Cade Cavalli is one of those guys where I believe if he was healthy and if he was with a very data-driven organization like the Boston Red Sox were, this would be a completely different pitcher. And again, the injuries that are at the forefront of talking about Cavalli here We all know that the injuries have piled up over his career, recovering from Tommy John. It was nearly 2 years without him pitching a single time in a game. Like, yeah, that's going to affect you right now. But with him specifically, the stuff that he brings to the table, the knuckle curveball that's quite lethal, if you ask me, the 99-mile-per-hour fastball, the changeup that he mixes in. This is someone who actually does have a mix that could be a really good pitcher. And what Taboni talked about in his opening press conference was guys like Connolly. Actually, he talked about this with Grant and Danny on last week over on 106.7 The Fan, but he talked about guys not having like this certain repertoire, pitch mix that they use. And Connolly, who started in the AL wild card for the Boston Red Sox, he was someone that they saw later on in the draft. I believe he was like a 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick at a UVA, mid-round kind of guy. And he went through their lab. He obviously increased his fastball velocity. He added some pitches to his usage there, and he all used those effectively. And he was really good in this playoff start. I could see the Nationals kind of having that success under a Cade Cavalli here. And even then, not even just looking at Cavalli. Let's get back to why this should be a priority here. The Nationals pitching staff right now has been broken really since 2019. If you look at that 2019 staff, that was like the perfect, one of the better starting rotations over the past few seasons, in my opinion. That was a built for October kind of rotation. And looking at that bullpen as well, you see guys like Sean Doolittle, Daniel Hudson pitch huge big time moments for this team. Tanner Rainey even came in and pitched a few meaningful innings. Patrick Corbin, who was a starter, came in and pitched out of the bullpen. You had some great bullpen performances, even throwing Fernando Rodney, who's bounced around Major League Baseball for nearly 2 decades at this point. The Nationals have to get back to the bread and butter here. And getting back to that is hopefully getting in this offseason and prioritizing pitching. Because as I continue to watch October baseball, I think to myself, well, everyone is having these awesome starting pitchers go out 4, 5, 6 innings pitch, coming with the bullpen, going through 15 innings of extra innings, and still having zeros on the board. Could you imagine a Nationals pitching staff, not even just this year, but over the last 5 seasons, go 15 innings and give up 1 earned run? That would never happen in this era of Nationals baseball. The Nationals have to get back into prioritizing pitching. They have developed a few arms here and there. Mitchell Parker, Jake Irvin, DJ Herz. Like, those guys are not supposed to be the studs that we thought they could be for the Nationals, but ultimately, a couple of those guys have kind of flamed out. DJ Herz recovering from Tommy John. I'm not saying he's going to be done. I like DJ Herz. Stay tuned for that conversation later on in the show. Cade Cavalli, good. Really good start here. We'll see if he can build onto it entering 2026. Then guys like Jake Irvin, who was a first-half all-star in 2024, then has fallen off completely for the last year and a half. Gave up the most home runs, the most earned runs in all of baseball this season. Mitchell Parker, great rookie season in 2024. Fell off a little bit down the stretch, but this season was filled with bad starts and ultimately was pulled from the rotation in September. You have to start wondering when the Nationals will start to develop pitching. And fortunately enough, you already have Travis Sakura from Mike Rizzo. He's going to be a stud in my opinion. I'm going to bet on Harleen Susanna being a stud for this team. But they have to go beyond that. The Nationals have to address this in free agency. And not even just free agency, but through trades, whether it even be trading a Mackenzie Gore to get a couple of pitching prospects in return, whether it be the first few rounds of this year's draft, you're attacking that pitching, getting college arms in the system and seeing what they can do. You have to figure out a plan to help this team and help this pitching situation. Because I'm not sure that right now today, with the Nationals having one of the worst pitching staffs in the sport today, how can they improve enough to get back to October? Looking at the bats, This year, the reason why I'm not putting this as an offseason priority is because I've kind of seen enough with them. Like, I like Abrams over at short. I like Wood and what he can provide. I think House will be a lot better. I think Cruz will be a lot better. And yes, they still need to add a lot of offensive weapons there. But what wins? It's pitching. Pitching has to be at the top of the priority list this offseason. And with Taboni, if he were to spend, let's say he gets an open checkbook this year, you better go after pitching. Because right now, with where the Nationals stand today, we could jump in all the deep dive analytics. I don't need to. The team ERA, the team whip, the walk rate, the strikeout rate, it's all there for you. They're all bad. You have to improve this pitching first and foremost before addressing anything else at this time. So do not be surprised if the Nationals go heavy on pitching this offseason. And if they do, obviously, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about all the different moves that they decide to make, guys that they think that they'll retain, guys they think they could trade off of, cut bait from. We'll be talking about it here on Locked On Nationals. So stay tuned for that conversation as we get into this later in the year. But as we mentioned, let's talk about some positive things. I do believe that the Nationals have a couple of guys right now that may not be on your radar. Mackenzie Gore's an all-star. He's on your radar. Cade Cavalli, the former first-round pick, he's on your radar. But I've got three guys for you that I think will take a step up in 2026 under this Taboni analytics kind of leadership back here in DC. So stay tuned for that conversation. I'm going to tell you who those three guys are after this. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, tried player props, and even followed the live lines during games. And it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Like tonight, I've got a Jaden Daniels anytime touchdown score prop, but also parlayed the DeAndre Swift anytime touchdown prop, but Commanders money line touchdown prop as well, or not a touchdown prop, money line bet. Combine all those three, have some fun with our friends at FanDuel, and enjoy Monday Night Football. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today. Again, visit FanDuel.com and download the app today. That is America's #1 sportsbook. Again, visit FanDuel.com and download the app today. And we are back here on Locked On Nationals. If you haven't done so already, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcasts, and including over on YouTube. But now we get into some three guys who will be taking a step up. But later on in the show today, also, stay tuned for some championship series predictions. The Mariners are already up 1-0, but you have got a really good Blue Jays staff with the Savage on the bump tonight. In my opinion, probably their best playoff pitcher so far. So stay tuned for that conversation later on in the show today. But I've got three guys from the Nationals that I think will take a step up. And the number one guy that I want you to keep an eye on is DJ Herz. I think DJ Herz, in the profile when the Nationals traded for him 2 years ago, Jeimer Candelario going to the Cubs, DJ Herz coming back to the Washington Nationals, and Kevin Madey, who is still down in the minor leagues as we speak. DJ Herz is one of the higher ceiling guys on this Nationals roster today. And I look at his profile, and some of you are going to be thinking, Ryan, you're nuts. I kind of see a Garrett Crochet kind of feel with him. And this is not, I'm not going to say this is going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. I'm not going to say that he's going to win a Cy Young. I'm not going to say that he's going to be an ace. But looking at his profile of what he does best, I think DJ Herz has that profile in him. Being 6'2", he's obviously not as big as Crochet. Crochet's got those big legs. He's 6'7", 6'7". You all get it at this point. I think DJ Herz, though, could have that kind of rise. And I think he could make those kind of improvements, the similar that we saw him take this year with the Boston Red Sox, talking about Crochet. Garrett Crochet put himself in the Cy Young MVP conversation. Like, he was that good this season. No one really expected him to have that good of a season. But I believe under the analytics and the data that the Red Sox provide their players and the way that they develop, not just at the minor league level, but also at the major league level, helped him make those jumps. Fortunately, the guy that was credited for kind of having that player development feel and getting those data and the analytics and talking about all the different measures to make a great pitcher, we now have that guy. And so I'm just kind of sitting here scouting different guys who kind of has that Garrett Crochet feel to him. And that's DJ Herz right now. Mackenzie Gore is obviously in the conversation. I don't really think I need to tell people that he's going to be better in 2026. I think we all know that at this point. But talking about a young guy, a 24-year-old 8th round pick by the Chicago Cubs back in 2019 out of high school. This is someone who could make a big difference for this team, and more importantly, this rotation in 2026. He's going to be out for the first few months. He'll be rehabbing, and hopefully everything goes right. But we saw DJ Herz around the ball club, and he was there at a couple Nationals games this season. He was rehabbing, working his way back, getting stronger. I could see Herz making that jump up that I think a lot of people would expect from him. Because what I saw from the second half of 2024, I don't think that was a fluke. And thinking about that for a second, you think about his Marlins 13 strikeout game at home. That is kind of the peak of his powers there. And that's what he provides this team. I still stand by DJ Herz having one of the better changeups that I have seen a National have, definitely since Steven Strasburg. I think his stuff is very, very good. And kind of having that swing and miss profile the way that Crochet does, like I could see Taboni really working with someone like DJ Herz and getting the most out of him. Because that's really what this is about. People always ask, what is it like with analytics? Like, how does someone see a number and make them better on the field? It's a lot more complicated than that we can get into at a different date. But what you need to know is this. You want to kind of track their profiles and the way that they pitch, arm slots, the stuff that they have, just kind of the profiles that they have. Again, you're either like a ground ball pitcher, like a Jose Ferrer, who has an elite ground ball rate at this point, or you're like a DJ Herz and a Mackenzie Gore, who gets a ton of swings and misses and is going to try to make you swing and miss. That's the point of their game. I think Herz has that ability. And with that fastball too, by the way, we don't talk about his fastball enough. That high-rising fastball, it kind of reminds me of a Sean Doolittle back in the day, where he's going to have that fastball a couple inches above the zone, but it makes it feel as if it's kind of diving right under you. And all of a sudden, you swing under it, and that's a swing and a miss right there, and hopefully it's a strike three. That's kind of what DJ Herz reminds me of when he throws that fastball. And of course, you got Sean Doolittle on this coaching staff. Will he return? I don't know at this point. But I like DJ Herz. I would not be surprised to see him take a big step up in 2026. My number 2 guy, Jose Ferrer. I will not quit on Jose Ferrer. Now, he is going to have to make some changes. And Taboni has actually even discussed some changes, not specifically with Jose Ferrer, but he went in, I believe, on his opening presser, or this could have been with Grant and Danny when he was in studio with them for nearly an hour this past week. But he talked about using guys and just kind of seeing their profile and using and adding pitch types and using things in different sequences that maybe they would not have think of. Right now, Jose Ferrer is a 2-pitch pitcher. You are going to get hit in Major League Baseball unless it's the elite of the elite kind of stuff there. You think of elite traits. Steven Strasburg and his changeup. That was elite. Aroldis Chapman and his fastball. That's elite. Mason Miller and his fastball. Clayton Kershaw and his curveball. Those are the kind of guys who can get away with stuff like that. Jose Ferrer, I think, is very good, but I don't think he's even close to those tiers of players. They're Hall of Fame caliber players. But the sinker changeup combo that he has is nasty. In this season, we saw him really struggle at times. Now, I think it is kind of worthy to note this. He used his sinker 70% of the time, which was up from 53% in 2024. That is going to come down. But also, you're going to see him use his slider a lot more, in my opinion. He only used his slider 7% of the time. And I think he only used it 5% of the time in 2024. And Taboni has kind of talked about pitch shapes and kind of what pitches should look like and adding those pitches to your repertoire. And we could even see a completely different type of pitch from Jose Ferrer, maybe a curveball that's thrown in there. But I can tell you this, Jose Ferrer fits that profile of someone who's got the traits to be a very good pitcher. In my opinion, it's just about adding that third pitch, and that's when he'll take a step up. But there's a third guy, and he's not a left-handed pitcher. So let's talk about who that left-handed or who that right-handed pitcher is after this. Most people cannot name all their financial accounts or even what they are worth, whether it's your 401ks, properties, or even in your investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy to use interface on your laptop or even on your phone. And Monarch is built for people with busy lives. And if you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending and finally feel in control of your money. So if you can identify that you aren't saving as much as you thought, well, Monarch Money can do that for you because Monarch helps you notice an inefficient investment allocation and discover forgotten 401ks from your past jobs. And maximizing investments, increasing your saving rates are all easily added right there with Monarch Money. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. If you have not done so already, make sure to check us out over on Twitter at LO_Nationals and my personal account as well at Ryan Clary 11. But I've got a third guy to watch for. And of course, we got a World Series Championship Series preview that we'll discuss later on in the show today. But got to tell you about Clayton Beteer. I think Clayton Beteer is going to be a very key part for this Nationals team. And he is kind of in that same boat as Jose Ferrer. You see him kind of use the same two pitches a lot of the time. He has a two-pitch mix with a fastball and a slider. And we saw him have really good success this season with it. He uses fastball nearly roughly at a 53% of the time this past year. And his obviously his curveball there was, or his slider there was 47% of the time. You are going to have to add that third pitch, a changeup, a curveball, a slurve, whatever you want to do. You have to add a third pitch in his instance here because those pitches, while they're good pitches in my opinion, and I do think he can be a winning pitcher, he will not be that stud eighth inning setup guy or maybe even a closer down the road with him. And also, I think with his mechanics as well, Clayton Beteer is a candidate that could be that flamethrower, 100-mile-per-hour kind of weapon that the Nationals need in the back end of their bullpen. So to put a bow on this conversation for the three guys that I do think could take steps up, I think of Clayton Beteer. I think of DJ Herz coming off Tommy John surgery. And I think of Jose Ferrer. Again, I predicted Jose Ferrer to be an all-star this season. I was dead wrong, but I still think he has all-star capabilities. And I still think that Jose Ferrer will be able to figure out for the Nationals. And I think he still can be a good closer in Major League Baseball. His stuff is too good. I will not quit it. That is the same thing when it comes to DJ Herz and also Clayton Beteer. So that's why I think the Nationals, they will make some improvements. It won't be enough. And that is why this team has to prioritize pitching this offseason. Get them in the lab, figure out what they can and can't do, and just pick apart their mechanics and do whatever you have to do to make this Nationals pitching staff just fine and good again, because it has been below average for years, and I'm kind of tired of it. But to put a conversation to an end of today's show, let's talk about October baseball. And man, do I miss October baseball. Watching teams every single day, it is just so tough. Seeing the Rogers Center last night, I mean, just an incredible atmosphere up there in Canada. The Rogers Center has gone over some really nice renovations. It's an awesome place to watch a ball game. And the big dumper, he got the most of those Toronto Blue Jays, because the Seattle Mariners, they came up victorious in game 1. But unfortunately for them, you are going up against a stud with Trey Yesavage today. I think Trey Yesavage is one of the brighter young pitchers in today's game, but also Logan Gilbert for the Seattle Mariners, coming off a few really good starts, or one really good start this postseason, and also coming in relief in that crazy 15-inning game that we mentioned just last week. I think this is going to be a great game too. I've got the Toronto Blue Jays winning this game. Going back to Seattle, I do think the Blue Jays still have the edge in this matchup. I've seen it with their pitching. Kevin Gausman, I thought, pitched a great game yesterday, as we saw. The right-handed pitcher is still very trusted out there. I like Shane Bieber. I like Trey Yesavage. They have got a really good mix of some vets. Obviously, former Max Scherzer's in there. You've got a lot of great mix of vets and young talent in that rotation. The Mariners might have the best rotation outside of the Dodgers remaining in this postseason, so that is certainly something to watch. I just think with those guys in there, they're very young. They're very, primed to get hit around. They obviously have a great rotation. This has kind of been the staple of the Mariners over the past couple of seasons here. But I would still watch for them to just kind of crumble apart here. You're going up against a very lethal offense with the Blue Jays. You saw George Springer lead off the game with a home run, and then they had one hit the rest of the game. I don't think they go that quiet for the remainder of the series. So, yes, I have the Blue Jays winning this series. Yes, they are down 1-0. I still think the Blue Jays get it done in 6 games. But then you've got the Dodgers and the Brewers. I mean, just the incredible story of the Brewers this season. I thought this was a great line from Pat Murphy, their manager there in Milwaukee. He called them the above average Joes, because everyone called them the average Joes because they're like, who the heck is this roster right now? Like what is going on? You've got Andrew Vaughn, a former top pick for the Dodgers. I mean, a former top pick by the White Sox, coming here to Milwaukee, completely turn his season around. I think it comes to an end now. This Dodgers team, this might just be a spoiler. I don't see anybody beating the Dodgers at this point. I was kind of worried about them entering this postseason. I was like, well, what's going on with their bullpen? Well, they got healthy at the right time. They have turned Roki Sasaki into one of the best bullpen arms in all of baseball. He's going to come in, pitch a few innings, and shut you down. That's what he's going to do. Blake Snell on the bump tonight. Plenty of postseason experience for him. The Snellzilla, one of the better pitchers all season here. The Dodgers, and really over the last few weeks here, he's been great for the Dodgers. So I think the Brewers, great story. I'll be rooting for them. I think everybody in baseball is rooting for the Brew Crew to get it done, because Mr. Baseball obviously passed away this offseason. Just kind of something that's a really cool story that's happening in Milwaukee, but I think they run into a buzzsaw with the LA Dodgers. So thank you all for making Locked On Nats your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I will catch you guys on the flip side, and we'll talk about some offensive needs for the Nationals tomorrow. And until then, have a good one. Enjoy postseason baseball today. So you got game 2 of the ALCS and game 1 of the NLDS. If anything happens that's crazy, we'll talk about it on tomorrow's Locked On Nationals. Have a good one. Go Nats.